My mom said they couldn't afford 2 tickets. So my sister got the room, and I got a moving truck. Can you believe a parent would tell one of their children they couldn't afford something for them, only to turn around and give the exact same thing and more to their other child, because that's what happened to me. My mom told me they couldn't afford 2 tickets for a family vacation, effectively leaving me behind, while my sister got not just a ticket, but a whole apartment paid for. Was I wrong for what I did next, for taking back what was rightfully mine in the most spectacular way possible? Tell me if you would have done the same thing, because I'm still reeling from the fallout, and a part of me wonders if I went too far, even though another, much larger part, feels completely justified. Let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when I still believed in the fairness of family, before I truly understood the depths of parental favoritism. My sister, Sarah, and I are only 2 years apart. Growing up, we were always close, or so I thought. We shared a room, secrets, and a seemingly equal amount of our parents' attention. My mom and dad always prided themselves on treating us the same, ensuring neither of us felt left out or less loved. Or at least, that's what they said. The cracks in that facade started showing subtly at first, almost imperceptibly, like tiny hairline fractures in a wall that you only notice when the light hits it just right. Sarah was always a bit more outgoing, a bit more boisterous, while I was the quieter, more studious one. My parents praised my academic achievements, but they celebrated Sarah's social successes. It was a subtle difference, but it was there. If I got an A, it was expected. If Sarah got a lead in the school play, it was a family event, complete with congratulatory dinners and endless stories recounted to every relative. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just different personalities, different ways of showing love. After all, they always said they loved us both equally. Things escalated significantly when we reached college age. I got into my dream university, a prestigious out-of-state school that required a significant financial investment. My parents were supportive, outwardly at least, and promised to help as much as they could with tuition, room, and board. They made a big show of how proud they were, how I was destined for great things. Simultaneously, Sarah, who had less rigorous academic aspirations, decided she wanted to take a gap year to find herself and explore her artistic passions, which mostly involved painting murals on her bedroom wall and dabbling in pottery. My parents, surprisingly, were equally supportive of this. They set her up with a small art studio in the converted garage, bought her expensive art supplies, and even paid for a few workshops. I was a little jealous, I'll admit, seeing her live rent-free, pursuing hobbies, while I was drowning in textbooks and student loans, but I told myself it was temporary. She'd eventually figure things out and get a job, or go to college herself. Fast forward 4 years. I graduated with honors, landed a fantastic job in a different city, and started building my career. It was tough, navigating a new city alone, paying off student loans, and trying to make ends meet. But I was proud of my independence. Sarah, on the other hand, was still living at home. Her gap year had stretched into 4, then 5. She was still dabbling in art, still living in the converted studio, and still financially dependent on our parents. My parents, to my utter disbelief, were still enabling her. They bought her a new car, arguing she needed it for inspiration drives. They paid for her to go on art retreats. They even renovated the garage studio further, turning it into a legitimate, fully equipped artist's space, complete with professional lighting and a kiln. I started to feel a bitter resentment festering inside me. I'd worked so hard, sacrificed so much, and here was my sister, seemingly getting everything handed to her on a silver platter, all while I was struggling to pay my own bills. The real turning point, the moment the illusion shattered completely, came when my parents announced a family vacation. A 2-week trip to Europe. My parents had always dreamed of taking us there, and now that they were empty nesters, they finally had the means. Or so I thought. They called me, bubbling with excitement, talking about all the sights we'd see, the food we'd eat. I was thrilled. Europe had been on my bucket list forever. Then the bomb dropped. My mom, in a soft, apologetic tone, said, "Honey, we've crunched the numbers and we just can't afford 2 tickets. It's too expensive with everything else. So, we're just taking Sarah. We know you understand, you're so independent now, and you have your own life." I was speechless. "You can't afford *2* tickets." I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "But you just spent thousands renovating Sarah's studio. You bought her a new car. You're paying for her art retreats." My mom became defensive. "That's different, dear. Those are investments in Sarah's future. This is a luxury. We just can't swing it." I hung up the phone in a daze, the words echoing in my ears. Investments in Sarah's future. My future, the one I'd worked my butt off for, the one that involved actual tuition and rent, was apparently not worth the same investment. It was a blatant slap in the face. The message was clear. Sarah was their priority. Her hobbies, her comfort, her future, however undefined, trumped my presence on a family vacation. The next few months were a blur of anger and hurt. I tried to talk to my parents, to explain how deeply wounded I felt, but they just brushed me off, telling me I was being selfish, that I should be happy for my sister. They even accused me of being jealous. Jealous, yes, I was jealous. Jealous of the blatant favoritism, of the emotional and financial support my sister received without lifting a finger, while I, their supposedly independent and successful child, was left to fend for myself and then denied a simple family trip. The trip went ahead without me, of course. Sarah posted endless photos on social media, beaming next to our parents in front of famous landmarks. Each picture felt like a fresh wound. Around this time, my company announced a massive relocation. They were moving our main office to a different state, and I had a choice: move with them or lose my job. It was a big decision, a fresh start. The new city was exciting, with a lower cost of living and even better career prospects. I decided to take the leap. The move itself was a logistical nightmare, and I was stressed about finding a new place, packing, and coordinating everything. I casually mentioned this to my mom during a phone call, hoping for some support, maybe even an offer to help with packing. Instead, she dropped another bombshell. "Oh, that reminds me, honey," she said cheerfully. "Sarah's finally decided to move out. Your father and I found her the most adorable little apartment near her new art gallery internship. We're paying the first year's rent, and we're covering all her moving expenses. Isn't that wonderful?" I felt a cold dread spread through me. "You're paying for her apartment and her moving expenses?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "But you couldn't afford my ticket for the Europe trip." My mom sighed, exasperated. "It's different, dear. This is helping her get on her feet. She's starting a new chapter." A new chapter that I was paying for, indirectly, by being denied even basic family inclusion. I just couldn't believe it. My sister, who had done nothing but live off our parents for years, was getting a fully funded new beginning, while I was left to figure out my own costly relocation, all because they couldn't afford 2 tickets. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I was moving to a new state, preparing for a monumental life change, while my sister, who had always been the golden child, was being set up with a completely free ride to independence. I was seething, hurt, and feeling utterly betrayed. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. How would you have reacted to such blatant favoritism? Would you have just let it go? Or would you have sought some form of retribution? I thought about it long and hard. My parents had always prided themselves on their beautiful home, a large, well-maintained house that they constantly upgraded. One of their most prized possessions was an antique buffet in the dining room, a family heirloom passed down for generations. It was a stunning piece, intricately carved, made of dark, rich wood, and it held a special place in our family history. My great-grandmother had brought it over from the old country. It was worth a significant amount of money, both monetarily and sentimentally. My parents often talked about how it would eventually be passed down to one of us. They always said it would go to whoever had a suitable home for it, a home where it would be cherished and displayed properly. I had always envisioned it in my own future dining room. Sarah, frankly, had no appreciation for antiques, preferring modern, minimalist decor. As I packed my own sparse belongings, sorting through boxes and deciding what to keep and what to discard, a plan began to form in my mind. A plan that was equal parts audacious, vengeful, and, I believed, completely justified. My parents were away helping Sarah set up her new apartment, and they wouldn't be back for a few days. I had the keys to their house, as I occasionally sat for them. I called a moving company, not just for my own boxes, but for a special delivery. I meticulously planned the timing. My movers arrived at my parents' house bright and early, just as the sun was beginning to peek over the horizon. I walked them through the house, pointing out the antique buffet in the dining room. "This," I said, with a quiet intensity, "is coming with me." The movers, seasoned professionals, didn't bat an eye. They carefully wrapped the buffet, securing it with blankets and straps, and expertly maneuvered it out of the house and onto their truck. It was a heavy, imposing piece, and it took 3 men to lift it. As I watched it disappear into the moving truck, a strange mix of emotions washed over me, a pang of guilt, a rush of adrenaline, and a deep, satisfying sense of reclaiming what I felt was mine. I left a short, handwritten note on the dining room table, placed exactly where the buffet had stood. It simply read, "Since you couldn't afford 2 tickets and Sarah got a room, I figured I'd take the buffet for my new home. It needs a place where it will be cherished and displayed properly. And, frankly, I need a new dining room piece more than Sarah needs another for perk." I signed it with my name, and then I left. I drove away from that house, the house I grew up in, feeling a weight both lift and settle on my shoulders. I was free of their favoritism, free of the constant comparison, and I had, in my own way, finally stood up for myself. The fallout was explosive. My mom called me the moment they returned home. Her voice was trembling with fury, then dissolved into hysterical sobs. "How could you? That's our family heirloom. It's priceless. You stole it." My dad got on the phone, his voice a low growl. "You bring that buffet back right now, or we're calling the police." I calmly explained my reasoning. I reminded them of the European trip, of Sarah's for car, her studio, her entire apartment. I told them that if they could afford to set Sarah up so lavishly, they could certainly afford a family vacation for both their children. And if they chose not to, then I was simply taking what I felt was my fair share of the family assets. I reminded them of their own words about the buffet needing a suitable home, a place where it would be cherished. My new dining room, I argued, was precisely that. I told them I wouldn't be bringing it back. If they wanted to call the police, they could. I had a clear conscience, and frankly, I was done being their doormat. They didn't call the police. I think, deep down, they knew the optics would be terrible, and it would expose their blatant favoritism to a wider audience than just our immediate family. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah, of course, sided with our parents, calling me a thief and a jealous sister. I blocked her number. My parents continued to call and text, sometimes threatening, sometimes pleading, always demanding the buffet back. I held firm. I had moved to my new city, set up my new apartment, and the antique buffet now stood proudly in my dining room, a beautiful, powerful symbol of my independence and my refusal to be overlooked any longer. It looks magnificent there, by the way, catching the light just right. It's been a few months since then. Communication with my parents is minimal, strained, and almost entirely focused on their continued demands for the buffet. I don't initiate contact, and when they do, I reiterate my stance. I've heard through the grapevine that Sarah is struggling a bit with her internship and the realities of adulting, even with a free apartment. A small part of me feels a twisted satisfaction in that. My life, on the other hand, is thriving. I love my new job, my new city, and my new apartment. I finally feel seen, valued, and in control of my own destiny. I don't regret taking the buffet, not for a second. It was a statement, a boundary, and a deeply personal act of self-preservation. So, that's my story. It's been a wild ride, and the emotional scars are still there. But I truly believe I did what I had to do. Was I wrong for taking the buffet, for demanding recognition and fairness in my own, unconventional way? Or was it high time I put my foot down and showed my parents that their favoritism had consequences? Like this video if you were on my side, subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.